So this is my new OneGrill 60-inch premium rotisserie, which I installed yesterday in my fire pit. I set in two 15-inch galvanized 1-inch inside diameter pipes into the ground, and I have caps, so when I'm not using the rotisserie, I'm gonna just put the caps on, and then it should allow for a real easy setup. And we're gonna be breaking this bad boy in a little later this afternoon. So we got an oak fire going, and we're gonna let this burn down to coals, and our roast is inside, and it's been out for about 2 hours now. Okay, so we're cooking a 20-pound bone-in rib roast, and I just took it out of the plastic wrap and I've blotted it off with a paper towel. Now I'm gonna sprinkle it with seasoning. My favorite is Pappy's, which I can get at the local stores here out in California. And then I've also cut up a bunch of garlic into little slivers, and I'm gonna put that in into the meat as well. Okay, so I've coated the roast in Pappy's seasoning and patted it in as best I could. Once I get it on the rotisserie, I'll probably sprinkle some on just to get an even coating all the way around it. And now I'm gonna do the garlic. So I take the knife and I make a little bit of a slit, and then I'm gonna take the garlic piece and just put it into the meat, so you can see it kind of in there. So basically I'm going to do that and replicate it pretty much kind of across the roast and spread them out around. So there's no real method to the madness, but you can see there's garlic kind of just spread out randomly across the roast. And I should mention that any place that sells ribeye steaks, or bone-in ribeyes at least, will usually sell you the whole roast. And I prefer bone-in. I think it has more flavor. Sometimes when you buy the bone-in roast, the butcher will cut off the ribs and tie them back on. I don't like that. Usually, I've had issues with the string burning a little bit too much, even though it's butcher's twine, and then coming off. And so for me, it's way better just to cook the whole thing and then cut off the bones at the end. This is the challenging part, is putting the 5-foot skewer into the 2-foot roast. Okay, we got the sucker loaded. It was a little bit of a challenge to get it all locked in there.
Because it was so damn hot.
Because it was so damn hot. Okay, just to talk about the fire a little bit. Basically, we got an oak fire going. I have plenty of oak where I have this fire pit. And we started at a good hour before we wanted to put the roast on to let it burn down into coals, and then we just spread the coals from where the fire is to underneath where the roast will be. And basically we just keep slowly adding wood to keep the supplies of coal going. And then the rotisserie adjusts up and down, so we kind of combination move it up and down and adjust the coals to get the right heat we want. Okay, here we are about an hour into the roast. So again, this is a OneGrill 60-inch premium. So far, this is the first time I've used it out of the box, and so far, real happy with it. The price was, I thought, pretty reasonable, and overall the quality seems to be real nice. So it's a little bit of a constant work to keep the temperature adjusted by, it's easier to try to play with the coals than it is to raise and lower the rotisserie, even though that's not too hard. But just trying to keep it so when you put your hand underneath the roast, you can get like a 3 or 4 count without burning your hand too much. But we're basically cooking this at relatively higher heat versus like a 200-degree kind of smoker. But for this kind of meat, that works out well. Okay, here we are about 2 hours into it. we were getting low on coals, so we added, as you can see in the background, we added some more wood to get some more coals broke down. So now the roast is done. It took about 4 hours. It's not very scientific because you're not cooking with precise temperatures like you would in an oven or even possibly even a smoker. But this particular one took about 4 hours to get up to 135 degrees, which is nice and medium rare. And then we let it sit for about 20-30 minutes before we cut into it. So again, total cooking time was about 4 hours. My wife is always asking me, when's it going to be done? I just tell her it's going to be done when it's done, and we kind of, try to build the meal around when it's going to be done. So this one about 4 hours, and a lot of good beers with my friends. So here's a close-up of this beauty, and it came out awesome. Again, total cooking time about 4 hours, and then it's important to let it rest for 20-30 minutes to let the kind of juices get back into and disperse out throughout the meat to keep it nice and juicy and not bleed out once you start cutting into it. Okay, so when you go to cut it, it's great to have a nice sharp knife. I sharpened, this isn't the best knife in the world, but I did sharpen it before I started to use it, and that helps a lot. And then also it's important to make sure everybody's ready to eat because you don't want the slices to get cold. So we try to get everybody rallied around the kitchen, and pretty much they're taking slices pretty much as I'm cutting it, so it's nice and hot for everybody. So here's a plated piece. It looks great, pretty much medium rare. And I just want to thank all of our friends. We had 18 people over that helped keep me company for the 5-hour journey from the start of the fire through when the roast we took the roast off the spit. So lots of great friends and drinks and good conversation. And all in all, that's part of the experience. Is just the afternoon or evening of cooking this with friends and family.